Hey kiddos, today we are going to be talking about chapter 1, section 1, day 1, and it's all about points, lines, and planes. And before we can start talking about points, lines, and planes, we need to cover a few definitions, okay? So our first definition is undefined terms. And undefined terms don't have a definition. They don't have a formal definition. They just have a concept that everyone agrees that they have, like a point, line, or plane. Okay? Second, we have a defined term. And these are words that do have a formal definition that you know what they are. Like a book, you know what a book is. It has a definition. Okay? So, let's move on to points. Okay? So, points is a location in space. On our graph, it's just a location. Okay? It has no dimension, so it's not a big dot, it's not a really small dot, it's just there. And it is represented with a dot. Okay? So, a point would just look like this. Okay? Now, points have names. Okay? So if this point had a letter next to it, we are going to name that point. Okay? And the way that we do it is by writing the word point and then using that capital letter. So this point would be point A. Okay? If I have another point right here and it is labeled like that, a Q, this one would be point Q. If I have a third point, W, this would be point W. Okay? Next, we're going to talk about lines. Okay? So a line looks like this, but this line does not stop with my arrows. This line goes on forever. It goes down in the library, across the street, and forever on. Same in this direction. It goes forever in that direction. But it is a one-dimensional that extends forever in both directions. So the way that we name a line, there are two ways. Okay, so way number one is if there are points on this line, like A and B, then you would just say A, B with your capital letters, and you would draw something that looks like a line over top. But you don't have to just go left to right. This line could also be B, A, again with the arrows over top. The second way that we can name this line is if there is a small lowercase letter next to the line, like a little C, you can write the word line, and then next to that, you use that little letter, C. These are lowercase letters. You cannot say line B or line A because those are uppercase letters that are actually points. Next, we have something called a segment. And a segment is different from a line because it does not extend on forever. A segment has a start point and an end point, so it does not go on forever. If these two were labeled A and B, the way that we would name this is you would write the starting point A, and then you would write the ending point B. You draw a line over top, but this one has no arrows because it does not go on forever. You can also write it backwards from B to A. Okay? And a segment is a part of a line with a beginning and an end. Next, we have something called a ray. An array is kind of funky because it has a starting point, but then it goes off forever in some direction. Okay? So a ray is a part of a line with a beginning, but no end. So the way that we name our ray is if they had points. So there's an A at the starting point and then there's some B along the way. You have to start at the beginning. So you have to be A, and then it goes to B, and then you draw a line with one arrow because it goes on forever. If there was another point on here, such as a C, you could also name this ray with A, your starting point. You always have to start with your starting point, and then your C, again with a line with one arrow because it's going off forever in one direction. There are also something called opposite rays. So an opposite ray are two rays that have the same start point that go off in opposite directions. So if we had a start point of A and you had one ray go off this way, the other ray would go off here. So even though A is still your starting point, these are opposite rays, but it looks like a line. Okay? Next we have a plane. And a plane is a two-dimensional figure. It's flat, kind of like a piece of paper. And it's represented by something called a parallelogram. And we'll get into parallelograms later. Just know that it looks like this. Okay? There are two ways to name your parallelogram. The first way is that if there is at least 3 points, there could be a million points, but if there's at least 3 points, then you can take those. I'm going to label these A, B, C. We could say either plane, and then you put your points in alphabetical order. So plane A, B, C, or you could draw a little parallelogram and write A, B, C. These both refer to this plane. Okay, either write plane ABC or draw a parallelogram ABC. The second way that you can name these is if there is a letter in one of the corners that does not have a dot next to it, then that is the name of the plane. So this would be plane M, or you can draw the parallelogram and write a capital M as well. The last thing we have to cover is collinear and coplanar points. So collinear points, and I'll spell that out for you, collinear points are points that are on the same line. So if I have a line and I have points A, B, and C, so A, B, and C are collinear points because they are on the same line. You see that word line hiding in there? That helps me remember. And the last thing we have is coplanar points. Coplanar points are points that are on the same plane. Okay, so if we have our parallelogram and we have a bunch of points and we have point P and R and T, P, R, and T are all on the same plane, so they are coplanar points. Now this one, it doesn't spell out plane, but it spells out plan, which is close enough. So that is how I tell the difference. Collinear is a line, coplanar is a plane. Okay, now if you have any questions, go ahead and send me an email. I'd love to answer them and help you out.